So Phylicia George, 100-meter hurdler, 100-meter runner, bobsledder. um, Originally from Markham, Ontario in Canada, and that's where I was born and raised, grew up. But background is Grenadian. I think the one thing that I love about being from, I guess, Markham or Toronto is the amount of diversity that there is in that city. And I think it's kind of similar to like London. But I grew up with people from all different cultures. And so I feel like I was exposed to that. So now to me, that's like a norm. I feel like sometimes when I'm in places when there isn't that diversity, I feel like, you're not getting exposed to different cultures, the way different people do different things. So it kind of gave me an insight into other people's lives, into other people's perspectives, and kind of like being able to work with a wide variety of people. And I think also being Canadian, but Canadians very much embrace other people's cultures. And so I think, I was allowed to embrace my Grenadian culture in Canada. Whereas I feel like sometimes in places, it's like if you migrate there, it's like lose the culture that you came from and now become that. Whereas like I grew up feeling like I'm a Grenadian. We're having saltfish sauce in the morning and, all that kind of stuff. And I could definitely go and find Caribbean places. And so being Caribbean was a big part of, the cult of my life, and not just being Canadian, which I think is cool that I got to experience both sides of that. I feel like I identify with both. I mean, obviously, I was born in Canada, raised there. So being Canadian is a huge part of my life. And I represent Canada. But at the same time, I very much feel like I'm a Grenadian Canadian. You know what I mean? So I when I was young, we used to go to Grenada like every Christmas. And I, had that experience. And like all of my, I'm the only one, me and my brother are the only ones who were born in Canada. Everybody else was, born in Grenada. So it's just a really big part of my life. So I would say I'm not just Grenadian, I'm not just Canadian. I'm both. Yeah, it's the marriage between the two.
Is it just you and your brother or siblings?
Me and my brother, and then I have three older sisters.
Okay. They were born in Grenada?
Yeah.
Okay.
All my sisters are born in Grenada.
All right. Do you remember how you got involved in athletics? How did you get involved in track and field?
Right. So my earliest memories of running is racing my dad in the parking lot and kind of thing. And, in elementary school, we used to have these things called play days. And it was like, we're running on the grass, but I was always like the fastest kid. And I remember during those times, a lot of people were kind of telling me like, you should get a coach, you should get a coach. And we didn't do that until maybe I got to high school. And then going into high school, one day we were like just passing by one of the local universities, and my dad was like, let's go in and see if we can like find you a coach. And we went in, just kind of like was asking around, found my coach, and then kind of starting from there. And I was in grade 10 at that point. Joined the track club, and then just kind of went from there.
When did you actually know that you actually had a talent for this and you decided to like, okay, I'm going to stick to this, I really enjoy this?
I would definitely say in university. So my first year as a freshman was pretty difficult, and I was mentally very weak. But kind of working through that year and then going into my second year of university and really making the decision to be like, I really want to like give this my all and like get better at it. And then just kind of started seeing strides in that second year. And then by my senior year, I was getting better and better. And my coach really believed in me. He was like, he's a Jamaican. He ran the 800 for Jamaica. But like, I think he saw so much potential in me that I didn't even see. Which was really cool. And I think it helped me to start believing in myself more and more. And then in graduating, I studied biology in school, but it was kind of like, do you go to med school or do you continue running? And I kind of had that dream of going to the Olympics. So I made that kind of, even though I wasn't anywhere near like world class or elite, because I was running like 13:39 leaving university. And a lot of people would have thought it was kind of crazy to kind of pursue that. But I really, really felt like I had way more in me. So, made the decision to continue. And then in 2011, I had like this big breakout year and, ended up making my first world championships, made the final, ran 12:7. So it was...
I kind of have 2011 and 2012 as like pretty big years for me. What is it about those particular years? Is there something that you did? What was it? What?
Yeah.
Because obviously you made the World Championship final in 2011.
Yeah.
Then 2012 you made the Olympic final.
Yeah.
Was there something that was going on? Because in what I remember from those particular years, I think it was one year. It might have been. I don't even know if it was 2012 or 2011. I remember there was a year where I was watching the final and I just thought this final was stacked because you had Lopez Schleep, you had
2012.
Perdita got DQ'd.
Yeah.
There was a lot of holding on the time in terms of starting that race. So what is it? You said you gone from being mentally weak to actually becoming one of the Canada's best hurdlers, and that was a very strong group at that particular time.
Yeah.
What do you think you did in that time to become as good as you are?
Well, I think part of it was, graduating and being able to dedicate 100% of my time to track and field. So 2011 was my first year that I had that opportunity to do that. I think also I had a really amazing training group in 2011, and I feel like all of us were kind of like underdogs, and we just kind of like all worked together and we were just grinding, and it was kind of like making a name for yourself. So I think that environment we all just kind of like lifted each other up. And I think, in those years, I felt like I had nothing to lose. Like I said, like I was running 13:39. Nobody thinks I should be running anymore. People literally told me you should quit and just go to med school and keep it moving. And I just felt like I had nothing to lose. So I was just out there just like, I felt like I was going to prove to everybody that I'm, one of the best hurdlers. And even I had a lot of people telling me, you should go and run for Grenada because you'll never make a Canadian team because we already have three world-class girls. But the way I looked at it was, if I can make the Canadian team with, such a stacked group of people, that means I'm going to be ready to compete, at a championship. And I didn't want to shy away from the competition. I wanted to kind of bring myself to it. So I think competition breeds the best out of people. So I think, like you said, in those years, we had 6 girls that had standard, which was kind of like unheard of at that time. But it was like, I went into championships knowing like, you got to bring it. Like, there's no complacency. You have to like bring your all because all these girls are running fast. So yeah, I think that competitive environment that we had definitely brought out the best in me.
In 2011, you made the final, but you hit a hurdle. And then, is it that year?
Yeah, let me tell you what happened in 2011. So 2011, I'm trying to think. Actually, at the Nationals that year, I was having some issues with my calf cramping. And so my calf was cramping, but I ended up getting through the race. But it was like this weird, we didn't know what was going on. But the same thing happened at World Championships. So it started happening through the semi, but I was able to finish the race. But when I started the final, my calf was like literally like grabbing and releasing. And so, yeah, I just didn't have it.
I remember watching a video of you after that race, but it seemed like, even though that had happened, it seemed like a catalyst to move on. Because was it a catalyst for you in terms of, because 2012 obviously happened again?
Yeah, that was my first championship, and I ran season's best in the heats, PB in the semis. I really felt like I could have medaled in Daegu. Then I didn't because I had that. So to me, it was just like, I know what I'm capable of. So going into 2012, it was like, I'm just going to like do what I know I can do type of thing.
Did you decide to go to college and go to UConn? Is it a thing that you planned, or was it something that was brought to you? Like, oh, hey, do you think you should go? I think you should go to a college or whatever. Did you systematically make that decision, or was it something that was brought to you?
Well, once I started training with the track club, my coach there had sent a lot of athletes to like American universities, to the NCAA. And the biggest thing was more like getting a free education. Like, that's kind of how it started. I was like, okay, cool. And so then it just kind of became a goal of mine to kind of earn an athletic scholarship and be able to go away. So I guess maybe from grade 10 on, that was a plan. But because I wasn't running really fast, I wasn't highly recruited. But my coach at UConn ended up seeing me race in New York, and he saw potential. And so then that's how that happened.
In terms of that process, like, what would you recommend to young people from Canada or Caribbean or wherever? What would you recommend to them in terms of having to succeed at being a student athlete? What would you recommend to them?
I think the biggest thing is time management. So I think my first year I didn't do a very good job of that, but kind of forward on, I started like using an agenda and actually like really planning out my time. And sometimes I think when you're very busy, it makes you more productive. But I was studying biology and minoring in physiology and neurobiology, so I had a pretty heavy workload. And so a big part of it was like literally blocking out times for certain things and really using my time efficiently. If I'm on the bus, I had my textbooks out, I was doing work. So I think it's realizing that you have more time than you think you do, and kind of like capitalizing on all of it. And that's the biggest thing. And I think on the athlete side, the biggest thing that I did when I started seeing the gains was, one, trusting the program and communicating better with my coach. So once I kind of got on a level where I could communicate well with my coach and like kind of trust what was going on, I really started seeing gains.
So you end up obviously running the circuit, doing indoor season, doing outdoor season, established name. You also end up making a 2016 final again, but 2016 comes, you make the final again, so that might be a catalyst. Hey, 2017, obviously 2020 coming up as well. You might think, I want to stay on this path, but then you take this kind of different path in order to become a Winter Olympian. How did that actually come about? And why did you decide to take that leap?
Yeah. Okay. So after 2016, I had a message waiting for me on Twitter asking me if I was interested in doing bobsleigh. So Kaylee Humphreys had actually messaged me, and her and Stu McMillan is her coach. And so Stu obviously is in the track world, and they had been kind of looking at me and thinking that I could be good at it. And so that's kind of what sparked the initial, like, is this something that I want to do? But at first I was kind of like, I don't think so, you know? But I don't know, to me, I've always been someone that just like is willing to take a risk and try something new. And track was going well because, like I said, like I made the final in 2016 again. But it also was in some ways feeling a little bit mundane because I've been running for a really, really long time. And so to me, that year was really about like taking a break, and because I'm like, okay, I do want to do 2020 and I want to excel at 2020. So it was like taking a step back so that I could kind of like refresh myself. And yeah, so like I went out, we went down the bobsleigh track just to make sure I didn't hate it. And yeah, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's see. Let's see where this goes.
And obviously, what was the outcome of that?
Yeah, no, like, I mean, it was a grind, but like, you know, I slowly worked my way up to becoming like the number one push athlete on the team, which literally I moved out to Calgary in September, and then the Winter Olympics was in February. So like 6 months time, like first time pushing a bobsled. But yeah, making the Winter Olympic team and then winning a bronze medal, which was huge. Yeah, like it's crazy like to think about like, you know, doing that. But I think, like I said, taking the step back, it really gave me a really good perspective. And it actually like made me really excited to come back to track as well. So.
What differences did you notice, or what do you think you learned the most from being involved in another sport, and how could you use that in other areas of your life, not necessarily track, just track?
Right. I think one of the things was like bringing a beginner's mind to things. So I've been running track for a few years. It's kind of like, yep, I know what I'm doing, da, 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 da. But when you are doing something totally new, you have to kind of bring curiosity to it. You have to be more engaged, bring more intention to what you're doing. And I think that's something I had lost in track. It just felt like routine, like going through the motions. So definitely bringing more of a beginner's mind to things, and being willing to take a little bit of a risk, like kind of living a little bit on the edge. And bobsleigh, it's like, I don't know, it's like this grind where you just kind of like just go and just do it. And so kind of like sometimes not taking that moment to kind of second guess yourself, but just like literally letting yourself just go and just do it.
What are your earliest memories of going to Grenada? What's your earliest memories?
So my first time going to Grenada, I was 8. So the one thing that stands out to me, we were in the country somewhere. I don't remember. It might have been in Sauterres. But we were walking through someone's land, and there was a man on the porch sitting down. And we're walking through, me, my dad, my uncle, and my brother. And my dad acknowledges the man, but me and my brother were Canadians. So we just kind of walked through, and he got so mad. He's like, "Your children rude." And in Canada, it's like, don't talk to strangers. Whereas in Grenada, it's like we're all family. Like, you know what I mean? It's small island people. So I don't know, that really sticks out to me, where I felt really bad, but I was kind of like, ugh, like, So kind of from then, it was kind of like learning to acknowledge people and to, and I think in Canada compared to Grenada, the elder, like, in Grenada, there's a respect for that. And, kind of like having that instilled in me through that process. I would say that. And then every time I would visit Grenada, I would stay with my aunt and uncle in Montmorris through Christmas time. And in Christmas time, it's parang on the road. So, just hearing people, literally walking down the street, like bottles and, so, and that kind of like community aspect. So.
I was going to ask, I wanted to ask you, is there anything, for me, when I think about my heritage and the kind of challenges I've had over the last few years, what I take from my Caribbean heritage and the kind of things that my family went through in the Caribbean in order to have what they have now, and also like what they even went through in this country in order for us to actually walk the streets without having issues, or not as much issues anyway. That's what I take from my heritage, and I always use that every time I have something that's trying to fight me down, kind of thing.
Right.
That doesn't have to be it for you, but is there anything that you take from your heritage, from your Grenadian heritage, that you like? Some people it might be a sense of humour. Some people it might be. Actually, you've already said it. The mannerisms. Sorry, you've already said it.
Yeah.
You kind of already said it, haven't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so much. I think on one end, like you were saying, like seeing what my parents had to go through to migrate to Canada, the work ethic that my dad has, like my dad literally, like my dad's a teacher, but like he knows how to fix cars. He knows how to, like, he could build a house if he wanted to, like just like so much knowledge on anything, and just like the work ethic that he brings into everything. So being so grateful for them, like setting that up. I think also that coming from like a little bit of that, like the soca atmosphere, that like kind of free spirit, the like let's have fun type of vibe. Yeah, the food.
I have to ask you, it's a very, very serious question, very serious. Who is the king of soca? Or the queen of soca, I said also.
Oh man.
So who is the king and queen of soca? Or if not, you can answer another question. What's your favourite song of all time, if you have one?
Okay, well, I'm gonna say the soca artist. So it's hard to choose one person. For queen, I want to say Fay-ann. And
let me pause you there. Why? Very interesting, because she's a very interesting character. And every time she performs in London, I try and go and see her.
Yeah.
Because her energy, just her and Winter Olympian together in general, it's just the energy. There's something. Why her? Why her?
Yeah, like, I don't know. She has that kind of like edgy fierceness to her. And I think a lot of the female soca artists, I think a lot of female musicians in general, they play a lot on like sexuality and whatnot, but to me, I feel like she has a kind of like a more of like a powerful energy to her, you know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that, and still feminine, So I and like you said, and when she like links up with Bungie, it's like, yeah, and he would be on I'd say between him and Marshall would be my two top. Feel bad going into Trinidad, but
All right. Why do you love soca music, and what's your earliest memory of soca? Like, what song do you remember hearing growing up that instantaneously that brings you back to the first time you heard soca?
Yeah. Whew. I mean, I just love soca music just because, like, the energy of it and the spirit of it. The spirit of it is very much about, like, you're not going to go to a soca fete and nobody's having, right? Like, everybody's there to have fun. There's not going to be any fights. It's just like good vibes, good energy. And that's what soca is for me. And I actually feel like my earliest memories is more of calypso than soca. Like Sunday mornings, my dad's baking bread, calypso's playing on, bumping on the stereo. But I'm trying to think. I want to say like Dr. Cassandra is like the first something that's coming in my mind, like, But I mean, my dad used to take me to soca fetes from I was like, like 10, 12. I'm in there. So in Toronto we have Caravana. I played Kitty's Carnival. I had costume. I played mass. Yeah.
Do you still play mass now?
No, yeah. Like honestly, once I'm done track, like the goal, I literally just want to take a year and go to every carnival.
Yeah.
Like I need to go to Trinidad Carnival. I need to go to Crap Over. Like so
I
much.
think Natasha Hastings said the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, so you're 31 now.
Mhm.
You're still young, so like there's been many athletes like Merlin Otti, Gail Divas. I think Dawn Harper only really retired because she wanted to start a family. She
Right.
still had lots of legs in her 33. Alan Johnson went for a long time. So you still may want to do many years in track and still perform at a high standard. But what do you see yourself doing when you actually make that decision that you want to go
something.
onto the greener pastures, do something
Right.
new?
Man, like I've been starting to think about that. Like what do I want to do when I'm done? So studying biology, I initially had the thoughts of becoming a doctor and going to med school. Um, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do anymore, but I'm very interested in helping people, and I think there's a need for teaching people how to live a healthy lifestyle. And I'm talking like very much like holistic wellness, well-rounded, like physical, mental, um, so nutrition, all that stuff. So developing something to kind of help people in that aspect is definitely something that I'm thinking about. And um, I've been playing around with media and being in front of the camera a little bit. So potentially building a platform in terms of that.
Okay, all right. I'll put away from the track. What do you like apart from soakings?
Yeah.
Apart from the track, what hobbies and passions do you have? Like what interests you? What makes you relax? What are you interested in?
Yeah. I've been playing with so much stuff lately. So I write a lot. Like I poetry, but also just like almost like life thoughts type of thing. I'm interested in probably going to start a blog sometime soon, but I really do enjoy writing, and I could see myself like writing a novel or something at some point. So writing, movies and TV shows, it's easy to kind of decompress in that way. Um, I just like being creative. Anything that allows me to express some sort of creativity. So I've been like making YouTube videos, and learning how to edit and do all that kind of stuff. So that type of stuff has just been interesting for me. Reading, I read a lot. That's something where you're like, it's a problem because I know I have so many books. I'm like, and you're getting through them, and it's just like stacking up. And now I have a Kobo, and it's like, I literally just buy books all the time. But
That's a very North American product.
yeah,
We don't really use that.
yeah. Well, it was cheaper than the Kindle, so I was like, same thing.
Who's your biggest inspiration of wine? It doesn't have to be in track. It can just be anything.
Whew. Biggest inspiration.
Well, it could be more than one person. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be one.
I mean, okay, track wise, like Donovan Bailey really stands out for me. He's probably the reason that I wanted to become an Olympian in the first place. That's one of my earliest memories of the Olympics, watching him win. On the other side, I would say, it might sound kind of cliche, but like Oprah. Kind of like starting from nothing and building like an empire. And I think especially doing that as a black female is huge because there's a lot of obstacles that you have to go through on different levels. So yeah, kind of seeing what she built definitely is an inspiration for me.
And like I said, it's general. This is a general question, not just track or bobsleigh or anything like that. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be known for the rest of your life from now onwards?
I feel like I want to be remembered. I guess there's kind of two ends. I want to be remembered as someone who was very authentically herself, someone who wasn't afraid to take a risk, and someone who poured into other people's lives. Taking me like through my life. Aww. So, I mean, this was taken literally moments after we won the bronze medal. And I think this is interesting because it's like, obviously me and Kaylee like embracing, but like she was like a huge mentor for me through bobsleigh, and her belief in me, I think, was a big part of me, getting where I was. So